we have kind of our standard of excellence, which is a conversion rate of 65% or above. So if we send 100 retainers, 65, they should be working them. A lot of our firms convert between 75 and 85, and they're the guys that are hustlers. They've got operational excellence. They're normally bigger guys in the market, so they know how to get all the meat off the bone.
Welcome to the Tip to Scales podcast, where we discuss running and growing your law firm. I'm your host, Maria Monroy, president and co-founder of LawRank. Today, I am joined by Mingee, founder of Quintessa, and we discussed lead gen, intake, how the market is changing, and how cost per case is going up. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Lauren, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming. And you just got off a plane.
Yeah.
You just came straight here.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about you and your business.
So, I'm a wife and mom of 5, and then we have about 200 employees. So I joke, I have like 205 kids is what it feels like.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. And
What's your business?
so Quintessa Marketing. So what we do is we help law firms generate cases in their market through our own campaigns. So they have their branded campaigns, and then we do it on our own brand.
So lead gen.
Yep. That's right.
I get asked all the time, like, what are the good lead gen companies? And your name's come up a lot lately. So I was like, okay, we got to get her on so she can tell us how she generates these leads and how it works with the client. So tell us a little bit about that process. So a client comes to you and says, I want to generate cases. Are they signed retainers?
Yeah, they're signed retainers. So really the clients that do the best with us are the ones who are, because our motto is like world domination of the personal injury market. So our goal is for us to be in every state and then to start moving into other countries to be able to help with personal injury, like in Canada and Europe. But we want lawyers who think the same way. So they're either, top 10% of the spenders in the market. Their brand, they can't spend any more on their brand. Like they're past the point of, they can't go spend another $1 million on TV and get the same cost per case.
Right.
And they want more cases. And so they come to us, and then we go into the market and generate more on our own URLs digitally.
What if it's like a situation where it's like a solo practitioner and they just want to pick up like 10 cases a month or 5 cases a month?
Yeah. So our minimum spend is $25,000 a month.
Okay.
So we can help those. But we also tell them, like, listen, retainers are expensive. So if there's another thing that you can do to get a cheaper cost per case, do that first and then add us on top of it, right? So go and be a financial steward with everything else and then blend all of your cost per case with us.
Okay. So. And do you guarantee like, I have no idea how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you guarantee like X amount of cases and this is going to be the cost per case, or how does that work?
So we can't really guarantee the cost per case because every firm is so different in their firm preference, right? So some firms are like, I'll only take a minimum of $50,000 policy, and that's just stuff we can't work with. So we have kind of our standard of excellence, which is a conversion rate of 65% or above. So if we send 100 retainers, 65, they should be working them. A lot of our firms convert between 75 and 85, and they're the guys that are hustlers. They've got operational excellence. They're normally bigger guys in the market, so they know how to get all the meat off the bone. So we sign them. They can't be cited at fault. They have to treat within 14 days, things like that. And we know kind of across the United States, with that criteria, the conversion rates, like state over state and how they work.
What would you consider a good cost per case on a retainer?
It depends on the state, but and I feel like it's really changed, but really $2,500 to $3,000 is kind of like standard, unless you're looking at like LA and stuff like that.
I was going to say California probably doesn't fall in that.
No, and then it depends too on the firm. So if they, some firms want to pay $5,000-$6,000 for a CPA, but they're looking for like specific cases.
Right.
So, but for us, if they're hitting around that mark, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, $2,500 to $3,000. I think that's a really good cost per case.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to probably paid PPC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where we've fallen. But again, it really depends on the firm. So what's funny is we've really seen a lot of the firms, they need help with the intake staff, right? And that's That's the biggest thing.
Don't get me started. It's like, I always joke on here, it's like my biggest annoyance is intake.
Yeah. So that's why I started the company. So I was actually doing what you were doing SEO.
Okay.
And then I found out they were paying some of their people like minimum wage to handle a possible $1 million case. And it made 0 sense.
Yeah.
And I just got so tired doing the training over and over and over. It's like, I'm going to just go hire my own people and just go figure this out. And so that's really how Quintessa was born. And so haven't gone back since.
I mean, I feel you. It's literally been like, and it's the thing that you can't control.
Yep.
And if they have poor intake, it gets blamed on you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not signing up cases because you're the issue. Like, I want more qualified leads or the leads are shitty or whatever. But I'm like, well, how do you know? Have you even listened to intake? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I absolutely agree. But that's the one thing that we've told attorneys, like, listen, you go to like law school to be a lawyer, but if you don't have the right staff, then you're going to dig into the weeds, right? That's just what you have to do. So we'll tell them the things that are wrong, but we've actually started doing outsourced intake because even getting them signed up, they still screwed up. Like, their people aren't answering the phone. So our goal is to have a 95% answer rate. Some of our largest firms, they were at a 75%. How are people not picking up the phone? Like,
crazy.
That's an issue. So we're actually rolling out a product where we will do even more questions for you on top of getting these signed. So then you don't have to wait on your intake to do it. Because, personal injury, these guys, like these people who are signing up with the law firm, like if they're not getting answers fast, they just go to the next lawyer. Like they have no loyalty, to these law firms right now.
Zero.
Yeah. So we're trying to, change that market, but it's hard for sure.
But now it's nice because you sign up the cases
Mm-hmm.
and it's very straightforward.
Yes.
As opposed to what I deal with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's way more scalable, but they still have the issue with infrastructure, right? They only have so much staff who can handle so many cases. So some guys have the money to be able to invest, but sometimes they don't have the right people. And if you don't have the right people, like it's still a lot of issues.
Well, it's a sales team.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really is. Like I know people don't like that I call it that, but it's the truth. Like they have to sell them on your firm. Like why you? Why should you why should they hire you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I get that some are like super straightforward. They call in, they're ready to go, but some people aren't ready to go.
No, they're not. And we sell through education. But even after we get it signed up, they then go and tell their mom, their dad, like, oh, I signed up with this.
Yep.
And they're like, well, no, you should go with this.
I mean, that's happened to friends of mine that are like, oh, I signed up with such and such lawyer. And I'm like, nah, you need to switch. Like,
exactly.
This is who you're going to go with. Or let me research this first, know?
Mm-hmm.
So I could totally see that happening as well.
Yeah. It's, I think the intake side of personal injury, because they can make so much money. So say they can make 3 to 6x, right, on their investment. Well, if a lawyer's doubling their money, they're like, oh, it's okay, right? So because there's so much money in personal injury, there's a lot of room for not having excellence, if that makes sense. And so we're really trying to change that in the industry right now.
What have you noticed in terms of the market now, in terms of generating cases versus, say, 3 to 5 years ago?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first started the company and it was in 2016, we were selling retainers for 500, starting out. Yeah. And then the next year it was 800, but now we're, 1,800, 2,000 in some markets. It's crazy. So, price has gone up a lot. I think that's private equity, ABS, all that stuff really changed a lot of things.
You think it's already having an impact?
Oh yeah. So some of our, and I don't know if you've seen this, but some of the largest players, they were saying Q1, January, February, their cost per case on TV and radio have gone through the roof. And there's a lot more money just going into traditional advertising. On digital, we didn't have any money when we started the company. So starting the company, I only could do digital, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I've never done traditional. So we've really kind of kept that market, if that makes sense. So our cost per case haven't really gone up significantly like we've seen in TV and stuff right now.
And why do you think that traditional advertising is going up?
I think the generation now is more on social. It's just where it is. And then also people don't pay anymore for Dish Network or things like that. They're going to OTT or streaming. And so I think you have to be able to spread your chips everywhere and be on all places, on all things, because if you're relying on just one channel, it's going to be a problem that minute that channel goes up.
I agree with you 1,000%. And we have seen the shift even more in the past 12 months, where we're like, what would work for someone if they just only did well in SEO? Like, it's no longer enough, specifically if they don't have really great reviews. And I mean, in terms of like volume and rating, right? And I think the problem is that I think everything is so spread out. Like, you have so many different marketing channels, like you mentioned, and you have so many different firms. So many firms have been created that I just feel like it's just spread out in so many ways that you have to like really dominate a couple of channels to be really successful. Whereas before, again, you remember the days of like, SEO only, like organic only, like even pre-local SEO, right? Where like if you ranked top 3, heck, top 5, like you were making a killing.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I started, and this was in like, I think 2010, I think when SEO was like kind of starting. And we were getting a guy in Louisiana, 50 grand a month, like 280 cases. And like the days of that on SEO, like they are gone. Like it is just crazy what it used to be. So yeah, the market's completely shifted. And I also, and so it makes you wonder, like, is it going to condense? Because like all these people can't have this high cost per case and still stay in personal injury. So you wonder what's going to happen with all the firms.
I mean, I think that's like the conversation right now. Like everyone's like, everybody thinks that it's going to be like some crazy consolidation. And we're seeing it, right? Like Jen Gore was just purchased by Sweet James.
Right.
Like we're starting to see firms sell, which historically hasn't really been a thing.
No. I mean, what's funny is private equity, like what we've seen now, and even with some of our firms, they're going to a lot of them saying like, hey, well, we want to buy you. Like, and they want to bring operational excellence. Now, who's to say what's going to happen with it, right? But I mean, that's the new, because, United States is one of the only countries that it's not legal to be a non-attorney owner of a law firm, right? And so you just wonder, as that happens, like as there's more Arizona and as there's more changes there, is it going to bring more money into it to make it smarter and ran more efficiently? So, I think that's kind of the thing to watch and see.
Yeah. And I think, it's crazy, but private equity owns everything.
Yeah.
It's like plumbers and like dentists.
Yes.
Like, literally hospital. Like everything is owned by private equity. So this is like the one thing that they're barely able to go do, right? So I do think that there's going to be a shift. I don't know if it's like catastrophic, like some people say. I don't believe that. But I think if you're not running a really great firm, like from intake to like the way you're settling and going to trial and all that, like there's going to be no room for those like holes that firms have because it's so profitable, right?
Right.
What you mentioned, like that is what I think is going to you're just going to see it like there's going to be so much pressure. And it's like, no, you're going to have to run your firm like a business.
Yep.
And that's like, there's not going to be another way. Whereas before, you could be so sloppy because this is, like you said, so profitable. And as you know, a lot of lawyers are not business minded.
Right.
Right? Especially like the trial lawyers, because they're so passionate about what they do. They want to help clients. They want to do all this, but then they're leaving all this money on the table because they have so many holes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be interested. There's some firms that like when they first come on and we're like, okay, so what's your cost per case? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like,
oh, I know. That drives me insane.
How do you not know?
And I'm like, okay, you're spending X on PPC, X on SEO, X on this. What's your cost per case on PPC? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Well, how do you know that PPC is working?
I have no idea.
I'm just like, I don't get it. Like,
no.
I'm like, well, I think we have to start there.
Yeah.
Like, you need lead docket. Like, yeah, I'm a big fan of lead docket. Like, we need data. Like, how do you make decisions without data?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be, I think the benefit, like the good of all the changes coming is that firms are going to learn to run their firms better. Yeah. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
I agree. As long as they're the right players, right? I think that's the question is who's going to come out on top, right? Like you're hoping the guys with the good morals and the good guys are the ones that are going to come out on top. And you just don't know. So time will tell.
I think there will be a combination.
Yeah. There always is.
Yeah. I think it'll be mixed, but it'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah. I'll be interested because we, for us, again, I didn't have any money when I started the company. So like we know hour for hour, like our spend and our billable, like still to this day, And when we tell firms that, they're like, what? I'm like, do you know how much your payroll is? Like, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay, well, we're in two different boats here. So, so it'll be interesting seeing them get smarter with the data because data's power, right? Like that's really when you can move and shift the company. So I'll be excited to see that with them.
Yeah. I also think like TV, I think that's like about to die in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean from what we were getting calls from, because a lot of larger firms started calling us January and February, which yes, happy, great, but we're like, what's going on? And like, well, some of our CPAs were getting $5,500, $6,000 on TV. I'm like, what has happened? Just from Q4 for it to be such a dramatic shift. So, yeah, I think you're right, it's coming.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm also noticing firms are now like willing to market across channels, which is good.
So were you seeing before they were like, no, I'm never going to do lead gen or I'm never going to.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. They're becoming a little more open.
Well, I feel like with lead gen specifically, when we first came on the space, so like 2013 to like maybe pre-COVID, feel like there was a lot of buzz about lead gen and everybody wanted lead gen and we'd get calls asking if we did lead gen. And then like COVID hit or maybe like a little bit before COVID and it was like nobody wanted to do lead gen. It felt like it had like a bad reputation and people didn't want to do lead gen. But then in the past few years, I've seen a shift where everyone is back to exploring lead gen.
So we had a firm, and it was really funny. And this is what I talk about, the world domination mindset. They're in the Southeast, and they were a client when I first started, and they were in a bunch of states. We brought them to a bunch of states, and then they went away because they were, great cost per case on TV. And then they said, hey, so how are you in X state? And I was like, yeah, we're doing 300 retainers a month. And he's like, well, that's my state. I said, not anymore. Like, I'm with your competitors. He's like, well, what do I have to do to get back? And I was like, well, what's happened? And he's lost his market share to other people coming in, whether they're like, oh, I want to expand, like when Florida, when the whole tort reform, right? So they're moving into other states. And so what was funny is even some of these bigger guys, the TV guys, they're losing some market share that they used to have, predominantly for a long time. Just because, like you said, like there's lead gen now, there's a bunch of other ways to get, cases. And so we brought them in to where, say they're doing 500 cases a month on their own. Now they're getting an extra 500 to 700 from us. And so now they're back on world domination. And so that's what we tell them of like, listen, there's a pie of accidents, right? You have one quarter, your brand can only do so much. And then we come in and get the other however much we can. And then, if you can capture the rest, great. But I mean, if we can get you half of the accidents coming into your state, like that's a pretty large number. So those are the firms that use us like the right way, I think.
That makes sense. I mean, I always tell firms, like, you have digitally X amount of firms that are taking 90% of that pie digitally. It's like maybe 5 to 7 firms, depending on the market, that are generating a significant piece of that pie. And everyone else is fighting for that 10% that's left. And to me, that's so much harder to control because it's almost like you're gambling, right? Like there's a luck element to it. Whereas it's a numbers game, right? If you can be one of the people getting a piece of that 90%, like you're set, assuming you have great intake and all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing, and I don't know what you've seen, but we dig into the structure. I'm like, how do you pay your employees? Like, are you incentivizing them? Are they performance-based? And I don't know if you've seen, but we see a blend. Some of them are like, no, they're not. I'm like, your intake people are like, they are your face. Like, they should be able to have uncapped earning as long as they're meeting, certain criteria. And so we're even trying to help on the consulting side of like, we can generate as many retainers, but I mean, you could lose them because of poor players, right? If you don't pay them right, if you don't treat them right, if you don't have the right culture, if you've hired the wrong person, like we've gotten into just like different survey assessments of different people. I mean, because we went through a really big push last quarter, Q4, we hired 90 people in 90 days. Like it was a huge feat and it was all intake. And they were like, how are you doing this? I'm like, we've really mastered. And it's all in Oklahoma. All in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we don't
Like-
outsource anything.
And is it like come to the office and sit down or remote?
No, it's all come to the office, all sit down. No remote. I mean, we've been blessed to be able to do it all there. So we have a couple of floors in our building that are going to be just intake. Like we're at one floor right now just for intake, but we're about to start building out the second.
So tell me, like, ideal intake for you. What does that look like?
So really it's the profile that we look for is someone who wants to win, like someone who's competitive, who likes, I mean, I like to look for people who are financially motivated, but there has to be a why, because if you're just in it for the money, you're going to leave, right? Because it's a hard job. You're hearing a lot of hard things. Normally people that have grit, right? So they're hustlers. So maybe they were bartending. They've had a job where they've done sales, like hard sales, like cold calling or something like that, because this is all inbound. So then this isn't like their first sales job, if that makes sense.
So when you put a job ad, do you call it a sales position or?
Yeah, I mean, it's an inbound sales rep is what we have it as, but it's not like we're not looking for the people that are customer service. Like that's not what we, want to look for, because, they need to be able to say, like, if they're on the phone and they're like, well, I need to talk to my husband before I sign this. It's like, great, let's get him on the phone. Like, can you conference call him? Let me answer any questions you have. Not let's schedule a call back for 2 days from now.
Right.
So they're paid per retainer. They get signed up as long as it meets the contract qualifiers. So the contract that we sign with our attorneys, the qualifiers say there's 10 questions. Those 10 questions have to be asked on every retainer. And as long as they ask those 10 questions and the client answers, correctly, then they're incentivized for that one. And then every day that they hit their quotas that are set, they're getting free lunch. So like we have like, I don't know how much last month was, but like $100,000 in free lunches. But it's like totally worth it, because like the environment we've created, people want to come to work. They are getting paid. They're getting incentivized the right way. They've got a good culture. And then they get free food. So like that's, incentive for them. So they're getting daily wins and then monthly wins.
And I assume you have an intake manager.
We've got
multiple,
lots of,
I would assume.
Yeah, we've got, so we have a team set up. So it's like they manage 10 to 12 people. And then we have a director that manages 3 or 4 managers, and then a VP, and then a C-suite over the entire intake, so that it's a scalable process.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That's amazing though.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys offer actual coaching, or is it just more like you're consulting with your clients?
I mean, I just really consult with them. But, for us, I'll tell them exactly what to do. The problem is like the accountability. I'm like, I don't have the time to make sure and go back and listen. So I'd be doing a disservice to our clients if I was like, hey, so that's why we just said, let's just make it easy. And why don't you just pay us a little bit more, and then we'll just ask the question. So then I can bypass your intake, right? Like if it meets these things, then let me just pass it to a paralegal. So then, because the intake's the hardest thing for them to hire, right? Mm-hmm. They can find a lot of paralegals or they can find the lawyers, but the front of house is really the hardest thing for them to scale. So we've even helped them write job ads. We've helped them hire, but it's the management. And so if they don't have the right manager or the right accountability, it's just a mess. So that's why we're like, just let me handle it. Like, let me do that for you too.
That makes sense. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much to Lauren for everything she shared with us today. If you found the story valuable, please share it with someone you want to see succeed. Subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to help others discover the show.